Ladies and gentlemen, Brigitte Ranae in the building. She's the general manager of Power Washing Solutions. We are always looking for those industries that are impacting our community. I know that if you want to sell a house, if you want a nice place that's presentable, you need to have a place that is power washed, that is clean. Don't look at my house too closely if you ever come over to my house sometime. Maybe we should get the power washing done a little bit there. I'll call you.
Okay.
We know who to talk to now, right? But literally, part of running a professional business, running a professional environment, living in a place that just gives you that uplifting, positive feeling when you walk out of your own house. You need to have a house that looks clean, and that's important because presentation is so much to do with life. Welcome to Your Little Castle Show here, Brigitte. Tell us why you love doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Well, I think what I enjoy most is I get to work with my husband every day. So that's the funnest part for me.
Well, and that for some people that's a good thing, right? For
yes.
I would like to imagine for everybody that's a good thing. They get to work with their spouse. But tell me, why did you guys decide to get in? Why did Scott get into the washing industry? Why did you guys pick this? Of all the things you can do, this is very neat. I'm saying pretty cool, but why'd you pick it?
Well, our story is kind of a happy story and a sad story, and then a happy ending. So my husband had been power washing for another company for over 20 years. And he was not just power washing, but he was doing other things in a different style industry. And he was laid off for a short season. And my husband is a workaholic and a perfectionist, and that was really, really hard on him. And one day when he was laid off, he was power washing our home. And a neighbor came over and said, "Can you power wash my home?" And my husband said, "Sure." And then another neighbor asked, and we were in a subdivision at the time. And then hundreds of people later, he built one rig, and then another rig, and then another rig. So about a decade ago, after now over 30 years of power washing experience in multifaceted industries, now he's over 10 years into doing residential cleaning. And so that's when that sector blew up, I said, well, if you want me to come on board and help, because he kept asking me, because I'm in a different field of study. I said, okay, well, I guess I'll be your general manager. And we took a trip, and the rest is history. The
rest is history, as they say. Well, that's inspiring, and it's cool to see how families can work together as they build a business. You know, it's the power of two can be very much more influential than just two people doing separate careers, that they spend so much time with each other. If they can help each other along the way, because it's like having a mentor for your business. But if you're doing two separate things, that's the way most people do it. But man, that's a great insight that you have there. With that, everybody, we'll give a shout out to our sponsors. We do appreciate getting some great support from our community. And as you can see here, we've got USA Mortgage up on the screen. We're here with Ranae, Brigitte Ranae, and I like that last name, Ranae.
Yeah, that two first names thing. I like to get people with that. Well, it works every time.
Ranae, but it's actually your last name. So hey, mess it up, but now you'll remember. But it's Brigitte Ranae. And USA Mortgage, been around forever, doing a great job in our community and helping everybody. So I'm part of the Steve Flowers team. I do have my mortgage license. So for you guys, if you need to get refinanced, you need a home purchase, talk to me, talk to my team, and we will help you with that. Also, then we always talk about Carroll House Furniture. Carroll House has been in business for, I think, 50-something years now.
Long time.
And Brooke has been a longtime friend of mine. And I said, hey, man, I'm doing this new show. Would you like to be a sponsor of the show? And he said, absolutely. It's because you like nice things in your little castle, as we say up there. So with that, I'm going to go switch now over, and you can see we always have one other slide that we put up for everybody. You can see there they are, and that's Amy and Brooke. But with that, let's put up on the walls. We've got two walls in our studio now where we put up all of the most valuable information about our friends and family and the people that are doing great things. And so with that, I'll go to your main page. There it is. Look at it, everybody there. Tons of great information. I'm going to scroll up to the top of that. And let's get back into it. Power Wash Solutions is known for being soft washing experts. What is a soft washing expert? What does that really mean?
Well, we do all types of power washing for all different types of substrates. But the residential sector, for the most part, we're doing soft washing. And that's where instead of using high pressure water to blow off the dirt and the grime and the fungus that you can see, we're actually treating that with a biodegradable treatment, and it kills all the mold, mildew, fungus, bacteria, viruses. And then we just rinse that off with very low pressure water.
Okay, because power washing versus pressure washing, it's a little bit different thing, right? I mean, when you've got the two different techniques, is the best way to say, how do you best describe that?
Well, it's really important primarily because the high pressure on specific substrates like vinyl, composite, wood can be very destructive. It can destroy oxidation, which we can talk a little bit more about that later. But it's really hard on the gutter soffits fascia. You know, we've gone to properties that have been pressure washed, we would say, and their gutters ripped off or their soffits are blown away. And it's just not healthy for the property. On wood and especially on composite, oh my gosh, if I was going to say take one thing from this segment today, never ever use high pressure on composite because
Really?
it destroys the fibers. That's a maintenance free product, and we'll show you some examples of what that looks like. So
That's important. I didn't realize that. I do have a composite deck because it's nice and it's easy to maintain and it lasts forever supposedly,
Yes.
unless you
high pressure wash
high
it.
pressure wash it. Don't do that, or else you're going to destroy the composite. And it makes sense because it's a composite of all the materials, whatever they've decided to make this thing as a man-made, manufactured composite of different things. And if you hit it with too much pressure, it's not as strong as metal or wood per se. Or I guess your hardened wood. I guess, can you pressure wash cedar? Or?
Even on wood, we would say we do a soft wash on wood. So we wash a lot of decks, and you'll see some photos of some decks. But if you're going to be like staining your deck, you always want to do a soft wash to kill the organic matter on site. Because once you kill the organic matter on site, then you can, I'd say within 30 days, then you want to go ahead and stain it. For instance, if you're going to be washing a cedar deck, or if you're, a lot of people call us because they say, I'm going to stain my deck, or I need my deck stained. We always say soft wash it first. Don't just high pressure. For one, you can strip the fibers in the wood, and that makes it not last as long. But if you're just spraying off the fungal spores that you can see, they're still there, they're still alive. So that will eventually make the paint pop. Right? So you want to have a nice, clean, fresh substrate to work with. So we would treat it with a biodegradable treatment, kill the fungal spores and the bacteria, and then within 30 days, we would say get it stained.
Okay, because maintenance, you want your products to last for a long time,
right.
So you must handle them properly. That's more reason why you need experts like Brigitte Ranae to come in and make sure you're handling your expensive items like a deck. A lot of people do realize a deck often costs $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $50,000. Why wouldn't you want to make sure that you don't destroy it by I got my pressure washing machine I got from Walmart or Amazon, and now you just destroyed your deck.
Yeah, and we work with people with what's typically the most expensive investment they will ever make. And so we've committed to helping people protect that investment.
And you're not just talking about a deck when you're talking about that. You're talking about the house, right?
Any exterior surface on your property.
Yeah, and that was very important. All right, you guys do exterior cleaning. So what are the types of things that you actually do clean? You start touching on some of that, but it's not just the house. It's not just the deck. Sidewalks, gutters. I mean, when you get into it, talk about the details a little bit about everything that must be cleaned and why it's important to be maintained properly.
Sure. On a typical house wash, what we usually do is spray a biodegradable treatment from the outside of the gutters down all the way around, and that includes like your front porch area. A lot of times there's soft concrete on the front porch area. Sometimes there's composite or wood or railing or pillars, and so that's included in a house wash. Sometimes our customers need a roof wash or a deck wash or a fence, lots of different substrates on the property. So, and we've got some photos. If you want to scroll through those, we can kind of talk about some different
I'm glad
ones.
you brought that up. Let's pull it up over here. We've took a few extra minutes to get the photos lined up here. And so up on the right-hand wall, so you want me to just zip over? I'll start at the beginning. You tell me where to stop. But that's the first picture in the lineup, and I'm going to put these up on the wall for everybody to see.
Yeah, so that is a vinyl fence. And the interesting thing about vinyl, this looks beautiful and it's a maintenance-free product. It should last forever if you don't high pressure wash it. So this we did a soft wash on it. Once it's sitting out in the sun for too long, it's going to oxidize. Don't do this, but if you were to rub your fingers across your vinyl fence, you would get like a chalky feel after a few years. And that is the oxidation that we're talking about. We'll talk a lot about that today. But this item here cleaned up perfectly with just a simple soft wash. there's no need to use high pressure. And if you do use high pressure, you're going to see streaks and lines, and you'll see more about that later with a few other photos.
Yeah, I'm putting your title up there so people know who we're talking about here, but at the same time, I want them to see that difference. That's a dramatic difference. That looks like new on the bottom.
And that's
on
why
top, it looks like somebody hasn't cleaned it in a couple decades.
Yes, that's why composite and vinyl are maintenance-free products, because if you wash them properly with soft wash, they will last forever and clean up like new.
Okay, let's go to your next photo here. Tell me a little bit about what are we looking at here?
So this is funny. We see this a lot, especially when we go in subdivisions. So this is one of our customers who was do-it-yourself. They bought from their department store, local department store, they bought a power washer, and they started power washing, you can see, and then they called us because that took them about 5 or 6 hours to do. And so when my husband went to bid this, he said, "What was your plan for the rest of it?" And him and his wife said, "I don't really know. Sometimes my wife climbs up on the roof and tries to get it, which can be really dangerous. So we just wash this from the ground."
So they got the bottom right corner done in 6 hours. You got the rest of it done in about an hour? How long does it take you to do something like that?
Yeah,
2 hours?
to do this house, for just the house, we can get that done in maybe an hour and 15 minutes, but we have hundreds of thousands of dollars in equipment.
Right, yeah.
So,
and that wasn't what they spent on that power washer at Walmart or wherever they got that.
No.
not.
And so, and they were selling too, and they were under the gun. So we work with a lot of real estate agents, and we always tell our agents, give us 48 hours before you're going to do photos. We'll come in and get you cleaned up.
Okay, well, let's take a look here at our next photo. What do we got here?
Okay, so do you see the swirlies over here on the right?
Yeah,
That's
where they were hitting too much pressure.
Yes, that was high pressure.
I thought that was a glitch on the camera picture, but that's not.
No, it's not. No. And if you scroll to the next couple photos, you can see some more. Or, well, maybe not, but okay. Well, you'll see some more photos where with that deck and a couple of other decks. So that is composite, and once you strip those fibers, they start holding the dirt.
Better, yeah. It's like a cloth at that point, or something.
It is, yeah. And so it strips the fibers, and then the dirt gets clogged in between there, in between those fibers. Whereas if you don't use high pressure on it, then we can just come in and do a soft wash, maybe every few years, and it'll clean up like brand new.
Okay, very important. All right, next picture. What do you got there?
That's just a standard 2-story home. And we use a biodegradable treatment. There was a lot of fungus on this. We also put a very mild rinsing agent that helps reduce the spotting on windows. Some of our customers like for us to use their soft water. We can do that too.
Okay. And we'll continue here.
This
a
is
few more
just
examples.
standard concrete, yeah.
Okay, I'll take off
And this we would use high pressure on. So we have equipment that we would treat it and kill the fungus, and then we bring this equipment that comes in, and it's like a circular motion, so it's a nice even clean.
I'm looking at your pictures here, and I'm thinking, yeah, I have cement that looks like the top picture.
Yes.
So I need to get this done. So let me put that back up, everybody. Don't let your cement look like it's my walkway I'm thinking about. It's like got green and dark, and it doesn't look like there's hardly actually cement. You know what it is because you're walking on it. But literally, this it does not look near as good as what I can see you can do there at the bottom. So
yeah, and
I'm
it's
getting
important
encouraged.
to treat this, right? So you want to treat this first, which is what we do, and then after we kill it, then we clean it, and we do use a higher pressure on concrete.
Okay, so you got to know what materials to use. Pressure and
Yes.
what materials to not. It kind of makes sense if you think about it, but if you only got one device, you only have one choice. If you buy your own, you can buy a soft wash. And now you're spending so much money, you might as well call somebody, right?
Yeah.
That knows what they're doing. Okay, that makes sense and very important. Okay, let's take a couple more pictures here because we're almost through the half-hour point. We're halfway through our 28-minute interview here, everybody, and so I want Brigitte to get everything she needs covered for this, what's going to air on ABC. If you missed the whole interview, because now we're going to get into the community stuff, so that's when I put on the colored little cowboy hat, and we talk a little bit more about how she's impacting the community, and just by virtue of helping homeowners get a house ready to be sold. I mean, that's really important. That's just probably one thing you do that I can imagine is very important. Being somebody who has a mortgage license and does what I do to helping people get in and out of houses, and my team does. Yeah, these houses have to look right, and you're helping with that in a dramatic fashion. Helps them get more money for the family, for the household, for their whole livelihood. And
they do, and
bit of
actually,
an impact you can have there.
Actually, the home that you were looking at with the concrete there was actually a local ministry at Mercy Multiplied. And so we were able to work with them at a very reduced cost for a nonprofit. We do that sometimes too. So.
Well, that's good to hear too. And that's when we're talking about community stuff there, everybody. So there we go. I didn't know what she'd say community related, but I knew she would say something because I got to talk to Brigitte quite a bit here, and she does a ton of good stuff for the community. And we're into that without me even have to ask her anything. She knows she's going to bring that up because I make her. I led her to that. I wanted her to talk about that. That's good. So tell me a little bit more. Let's look at a couple more of the pictures we got on the wall there as you give me a little more description. Here you can see, again, vinyl just looking pretty rough.
Yep. Just standard house wash.
And
our dwell time, so we'll spray the biodegradable treatment on there. It's going to kill that fungus within 3 to 4 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. And then we just rinse it off with very low pressure water, just a little bit stronger than a garden hose.
Because you can damage vinyl pretty easily.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot. I've got vinyl at my house that's literally lifted up and went back down, but it's not snapped back into place. Mm-hmm. And I get that chalky feeling too that I've seen.
Mm-hmm. Don't touch it though, because that'll disturb the oxidation.
Oh, really? Don't try to clean up the oxidation.
No, don't touch your vinyl ever. Don't
touch the vinyl.
No.
I actually had gone through an issue with a repair that we had to get done. A tornado that came through the area, 2013 or something, and they said, "Oh yeah, they didn't replace the vinyl on all sides." Well, they should have, because your vinyl, even though I have a white house, so there was no color difference between old and the new. But my buddy's a vinyl expert, said, "Oh yeah, they should have replaced it all because it's oxidized and it's going to wear differently and it will look different."
And it looks different, yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So very good. All right, tell me a little bit more about a couple more pictures here, and I want to get back into a few more questions I've got for you.
So this is an apartment complex. We wash a lot of apartment complexes, and this is just fungus. And I know it looks really bad. This is just fungus and dirt, and it will look like new whenever we get done with it with a soft wash process.
Wow, and you can see there's before. Let me see if I go to the next. Does it happen to be?
This is a deck.
A deck.
I know it doesn't even look like the same deck, but that's just the soft wash process.
Wow, and that's just like somebody did a black and white photo at the top, and a color photo at the bottom.
Yeah, and that lady was actually staining her deck, and she's like, "I want you to come in," but that was before she stained it.
I gotcha.
I'm sure it looks wonderful now.
And then this is the do-it-yourselfer did something here.
Yeah, if you can see that, if you can see the streaks in this, a homeowner called and they had a lot going on. The people they bought the home, and the people that had it before agreed to power wash it, but they did it themselves, and they sprayed like that's something that you would get from a department store, and it left that on it. Okay. So we could get that off, but we would literally have to hand scrub every square inch and take off all of the oxidation, which is a lot more expensive than a standard soft wash process. If you're going to do a full oxidation removal and restoration, it's about 91% more expensive than to just have your house soft wash in the process, or in the first place. So
well, there's some information for you, ladies and gentlemen. Something that's quite a bit more expensive to do it. Other ways that you're going to end up costing yourself a lot of money, and that is not. We're trying to help people learn the tips of how to run a successful business and the tips of how you can maintain your own house. That's what this your little castle. So I call it your little castle, right? All right, tell me. I'm going to jump back into some of the questions I've got for you, but tell me, do you guys use ladders and other equipment for higher up cleaning? How do you clean up clean stuff that's higher? Second story, third story, depending on how big the facility is that you're working on. Sure.
Well, if it's just 2 or 3 stories, we just hit that from the ground. I know some people find that hard to believe, but well, I can tell you a little bit more about the equipment later. But for a standard like 2-story, 3-story, we just hit that from the ground with our soft wash system. So, okay. But if they're, sometimes we have to get on a ladder. If a deck, we're washing a deck and there's not stairs that go to the deck, something like that. But for the most part, we don't have to get on ladders.
Gotcha. Well, that's good to know, because it gets a little unsafe and you want to be as safe as possible. But with the high level systems you've got, you can reach a lot further than your store-bought.
Yeah, 60 feet. We can go 60 feet.
60 feet, everybody. That's for all of you baseball fans. That's from the pitcher's mound to home plate. It's a pretty good distance that you can spray, because I can throw a ball that far still, believe it or not. But that's a good distance to be able to spray, especially when you're going up into the air, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great for those commercial buildings. We wash a lot of commercial properties.
Okay,
so.
Very cool. All right, well, tell me a little bit. What are some of the problems you often encounter when you're power washing? I mean, there's a lot that could go wrong here. Everybody knows the damage water can cause if improperly used. Pressure washing, you're using a lot of water. What are you doing to make sure this is done right? What are some of the problems people run into?
My husband is a perfectionist, and so he under-promises and over-delivers. And so there are some jobs that we pass on. We actually just passed on one this past week because it was a very, very old roof. And we love this customer. He's a property manager, but the roof was just not safe. And so over 30 years of experience my husband has, so he just assesses the property and then sets up clear expectations.
Sure.
But I will tell you one problem that we do encounter with our customers is most of the time, if for new customers, not our repeats, but for new customers, they are completely surprised that we're done so fast. And so we always have them do a walk around. We don't collect any money until we're all finished. But it's so funny because some of our customers will say, well, that only took you an hour. You were only here an hour and a half. There's no way you could have washed everything. It's like, well, this is what my husband and I always say. If you invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in multiple rigs of power washing equipment, you can wash it in an hour too. So,
well, that's a great point, because a lot of people do not realize what is really at stake here and what is going on to make sure that this is done properly, because if you're not going to do it well, you're not going to do it the right way, you might be costing yourself, like you saw. You explained some of these other people tried to do it themselves.
It takes a lot of equipment to properly wash a property, I would say. So I don't know anyone that has a property that you would use one power washing technique or pressure washing technique on every substrate on a person's property. That would just be impossible.
Okay, so there's a new trend in dark color siding. I've seen a lot of houses now, they're getting this siding. It looks like the old school stuff. What do you do with stuff that's darker? Because the fungi and the other dirty stuff might match and blend a little bit, I'm guessing. I mean, what problems does this pose that people don't realize that they have to deal with? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, this is a different property, so
okay.
We can talk about this one really quick if you want to.
Yeah, let's talk about this.
So this is a time where we are using a man lift, which actually our people are trained and certified to be able to use these pieces of equipment. You don't want to just go out and rent a man lift. You can probably see he's tied off. But this substrate here, we have 3 different cleaning methods going on. So primarily we are treating everything, so we're killing the fungus first. And then we are using some high pressure on some of the substrates, but then like on the limestone area, we're using less pressure. And then on the brick, you would use less pressure because you don't want to blow out the mortar. There's just so many facets to power washing. But if you can see on the left, that is years and years of buildup from water drainage. And if your gutters aren't working properly and you notice like a big streak on one section of your home, that's because the water is continually draining there and it's feeding the fungus. That's what's making it grow. So, but the good news about this building is once that's properly cleaned, that should last, I would say, at least 15 years, maybe 20 years before they have to have that building cleaned again.
Wow.
Because we're killing the fungal spores.
And that really does a great job to make sure that this thing is properly set up for longevity, right?
Yes.
And so that's what you want to do. Do it right the first time, and then you save yourself a lot of money and hassle.
Yes. Don't just power wash it. It needs to be treated and killed, because you can spray off what you can see, but those fungal spores are still alive, and you want to kill those first. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to come back really quick.
Gotcha. All right. Well, tell me, what's a complaint, a concern customers often have after you service their property? What is something that people come back to you and say, wait a minute, I have a question?
Yeah.
I'm sure you deal with that periodically.
Yes.
It's a lot to comprehend here with what all you're doing. You're taking a place that looked like it was probably 20 years since they cleaned it, and now it looks like new.
Yeah.
Tell me some of the questions people have for you.
There's a couple things. The biggest question that people have is, how did you clean it so fast? That is the biggest thing. But the other thing that people will ask us is, it looks like it's splotchy. It looks like it's splotchy. So we always say, give it 48 hours to fully dry, right? So before people call us, they're not out there inspecting it with a flashlight, right? So they go, oh, my house is dirty. But after we wash it, they're out there a couple hours later and they're wanting to inspect it with a flashlight, and it looks splotchy because it's still drying. So when you get the soft wash process done, you want to make sure you give it 48 hours or so, 24 to 48 hours to fully dry. And then once it's dry, if our customers ever have any questions or concerns, we have awesome customer service. We always go back and take a look at it.
We're coming up on the end of our first half hour. We're going to do an hour discussion here with Brigitte and her team efforts. That she's the general manager. If you look at the title we had up for her, she's the GM here. And so with that, I want to cover a couple things that are important. And we always check out the reviews that our guests have before we ask them to be on, because we want to have the best. And so if the reviews don't match up, and I've got some news for you. Your reviews are awesome. So check this out, because you wouldn't be sitting in here if we looked at it like, oh, she's got a 2.2. No, that doesn't happen. 4.9, 27 reviews. So you're not one of those that's just harvesting reviews. We've seen that done before.
Yes, we get offers all the time for that. I mean, no thanks. We prefer honesty.
Come in and let us do your reviews for you. We'll
Right.
just listen to everybody, and if it's not a good review, we'll take care of that and send it over here. And if it's a good review, then we'll go ahead and let it go out there. I know how the system works. I have a buddy of mine who actually developed a system that would help people, and it gives people the opportunity to fix something that went wrong. But it's better to have organically. Here's what you got. So when you've got 49 reviews, I'm sorry, 4.9 with 27 reviews, you're doing a great job here. You guys have also taken a little time to exemplify some of those, and you're putting them all out there. Yeah, I think you only have one review that wasn't a perfect score, so that's why you're seeing what you see there. So I'm going to go up and put up for everybody. I found a page that you have on your website. I'm going to show that with everybody here too. And here it is. So what are your customers saying? So I often read one or two of these, but for those that are tuned in right now, we're going to do that real quick, and we're going to finish the second half of our show. Watch the entire show on the Your Little Castle Show website, Facebook, YouTube, all that fun stuff. So my house looked terrible with mold on siding and the gutters. I called Power Washing Solutions. My house looks like new again. Great job. That's from Michael Pierce. I'm gonna jump over here. Linda Hahn recommends Power Washing Solutions. Mother's Day gift. Awesome job by Power Washing Solutions. Scott Covey. Did I say his last name right?
Yes,
Okay.
Covey.
Covey. And like coffee, but Covey. Roof, gutters, and cleaning out house, driveway, patio, white fencing around the patio, all power washed to perfection. Very professional company. So we could go on and on about what the professional work that you guys do, but I'm telling you, it's awesome. So with that, everybody, stay tuned. We're going to continue on right now. We just finished our first half of the show. We're going to continue with an entire 30 more minutes here as we go on, because we have a lot more that we want to talk to this young lady about, because we need the experts that exemplify this and give tips to people how to run your business. If you don't want to run a power washing business, if you're not looking for a power washing business, maybe you're going to learn a little bit about how you should run a business, and just seeing how you exemplify that. And you guys do all kinds of great stuff in the community. We'll talk about that more a little bit too. So with that, everybody, we continue on. So I got a number of questions. I write my questions down because I want to make sure that I cover the important things that I want to make sure that we talk about. But what is one thing that sets your business apart? This is one I like to really talk about, because there's so many people out there to compete with. This is a very competitive world. But what is it that really sets you guys apart, would you say?
The one thing that no one else has is our equipment. So my husband has been, for over 10 years now, investing in and engineering and custom building equipment that does what we were talking about.
All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in for an extended version of the Your Little Castle Show. We do want to bring on the leaders in our community to help the businesses, help the owners, help the homeowners, help everyone to make this little world go round. Thank you for taking time to hang out with us today.
Thank you, Cowboy. We appreciate it.
Stay tuned for more. This is the Your Little Castle Show. Giddy up.